Welcome to the Stoic Storyteller, your sanctuary for raw, unfiltered stories about the darker side of human nature. Here, we dive deep into the reality of life, the toxic relationships, the bitter betrayals, and the quiet, calculating art of absolute justice.
7 witnesses were supposed to prove I was innocent. One by one, they vanished before trial. Then their final recordings appeared, each made after the witness was declared dead. My lawyer told me to take the plea. Instead, I put every recording on the courtroom. The first witness vanished from a courthouse elevator, while 6 armed officers watched the doors. Rowan Pike was supposed to testify at my preliminary hearing. He had maintained the security system at Argent Verdict, the jury strategy firm where I worked before investigative journalist Elias Ward was found dead in my office. Rowan knew the access logs had been altered. He knew the camera showing me entering the office at 11:08 p.m. had been rendered from rehearsal footage. He knew my badge had opened the door from a server room 3 floors away. Most importantly, he had promised to say all of it under oath. At 9:14 that morning, officers escorted him through the courthouse lobby. I watched from behind the defense table as he crossed the marble floor wearing a brown coat and the expression of a man trying not to look at exits. My lawyer, Creed, leaned toward me. "Do not stare," he whispered. "He is the reason I am not going to prison." Smiled without warmth. "I am the reason you are not going to prison." He had defended prime ministers, financiers, celebrities, and one surgeon whose patients kept dying after settlement conferences. Newspapers called him the architect of reasonable doubt. For 4 months, he had called me when I obeyed and Ms. when I questioned him. The bailiff announced Rowan's name. The side door opened. "No witness." A court officer approached the prosecutor and whispered. The prosecutor's face changed, closed the folder in front of him before anyone spoke. "What happened?" I asked. He did not answer. The judge cleared the courtroom after learning Rowan had entered the secure elevator on level 1, but never arrived on level 3. The elevator had made no stops. Its camera showed Rowan standing alone for 23 seconds. Then the feed turned white. When the image returned, the elevator was empty. No maintenance hatch had opened. No alarm had sounded. Both doors remained locked. 6 officers had watched the exterior doors. A man had disappeared inside a steel box owned by the court. Detective interviewed me in a consultation room. She asked when I last spoke to Rowan. 3 nights ago. What did he say? That he had proof the office footage was fake. Did he sound afraid? Yes. Of whom? I looked through the glass at. He stood in the corridor speaking quietly to the prosecutor. My employer, I said. Argent Verdict had hired for me under the company's executive protection policy. He liked to call that luck. I had begun to understand that a lawyer chosen by the institution accused of framing you was not luck. Asked whether Rowan mentioned a project called Lantern. My throat tightened. I said no. That was my first lie of the trial. Lantern was not a security project. It was a jury prediction engine I had helped develop 5 years earlier. Officially, it analyzed public trial data and mock jury reactions. Unofficially, it learned how specific people moved from doubt to certainty. I had left the project after Elias told me it was being used on real jurors. Entered without knocking. My client is finished answering questions. Looked at him. Your witness disappeared. My client's witness. You filed the witness list, and I am as concerned as everyone. He placed one hand on the back of my chair. The gesture looked protective. It was not. Touched furniture whenever he wanted to remind me who controlled the room. Left us alone. I asked how he knew Rowan was gone before the officer spoke. He adjusted his cuff. You closed the folder. I read the judge. No, you knew. His face softened into disappointment. You are frightened, so you are looking for betrayal in the person standing between you and a life sentence. He had used versions of that sentence for months. You are tired, so you misheard me. You are ashamed, so you are remembering Elias more kindly than he deserved. You are desperate, so you think evidence should behave morally. He made every suspicion sound like a symptom, opened his briefcase, and removed a plea agreement. 22 years for voluntary manslaughter. Parole possible after 14. The prosecutor offered this 10 minutes ago, he said. Before Rowan vanished, he did not answer. My phone vibrated inside the evidence pouch on the table. Had forgotten to take it. A message appeared from Rowan's number. I am not missing. Beneath it was a video attachment. Rowan sat in a dark room beneath a single white light. Blood marked one side of his collar. He looked into the camera and said, "Your lawyer knows where the elevator went." Then someone behind him asked, "What is your verdict?" Rowan swallowed. Guilty, he said. The screen went black. Watched my face. What did you receive? I turned the phone over. Nothing. That was my second lie. This time he knew. Moved me to a private apartment that evening. He called it witness protection. There were no witnesses and no protection. The apartment belonged to Argent Verdict. The windows opened 3 inches. The lift required fingerprint. A camera sat above the television beneath a smoke detector with no smoke sensor. He took my phone and placed it inside a signal bag. You lied to me in court, he said. I learned from the best. He ignored that. Knew Rowan had contacted me because the company's defense policy gave him access to all communications related to the case. Anything sent to my work-linked devices became privileged material under his control. He described surveillance as confidentiality. Show me the video. No. The tenderness in my name was worse than anger. I asked why the plea agreement had arrived before Rowan vanished. Poured water into 2 glasses. Negotiations happened continuously. Why did you close your folder before the court officer spoke? Because the prosecutor looked relieved. That was possible. Survived by choosing explanations that could not be disproved. He placed 1 glass near me. I did not drink. Rowan's disappearance makes your position dangerous, he said. A jury will assume you threatened him. I was in custody. You do not need to touch someone to frighten them. Whose argument is that? Mine or the prosecution's? His mouth tightened. For the first time, I saw how little distance existed between the lawyer saving me and the lawyer who knew exactly how to convict me. He opened his case file. A witness chart covered 2 pages. 7 names. Rowan Pike, Tess, Dr. Nair, Jonah Bale, Moss, Daniel. Beside each name was a time. Rowan 9:14, Tess 14:30, 21:00. The remaining times continued through the next 3 days. What are those? I asked. Interview windows. Rowan's time matched the moment he entered the elevator. Closed the file. I reached across the table. He caught my wrist. Not hard. He never used enough force to create an accusation more serious than mine. Do not make me manage you physically. The sentence shocked both of us. Released me and stepped back. Then he did what controlling people do after revealing themselves. He became gentle. He apologized for the pressure. He said he had not slept. He said watching me sabotage my defense was unbearable because he cared more than professional boundaries allowed. Care became the reason I should surrender control. He offered the plea agreement again. I asked about the video question. What is your verdict? Said captors often forced witnesses to make statements. How did you know there was a question? Silence. I had not told him. His eyes moved toward the dark television screen, where the camera lens reflected a small red dot. He knew the entire video. Maybe he had watched it before Rowan sent it. I stood, blocked the apartment door. You cannot leave. Am I a prisoner? You are charged with murder, and a witness vanished after contacting you. I have not been remanded. The court released you into my supervision. Legal supervision is not ownership. His expression changed at the word ownership. Not anger. Recognition. He stepped aside. I expected the lift to reject me. It opened. That frightened me more. Was letting me leave because departure served him. I took the stairs. On the 8th floor, the fire door opened into a service corridor. A woman waited beside a cart of folded laundry. Tess, the second witness. She was a court reporter who had transcribed a sealed hearing involving Elias and Lantern. Her testimony could prove he had requested protection before his death. You need to go, I said. She looked toward the ceiling camera. I already did. Tess handed me a small recorder. The timestamp showed 14:31 the following afternoon. A future time. This was delivered to my desk yesterday, she said. It contains my sworn statement recorded tomorrow. I pressed play. Tess's own voice said, My name is Tess. If this recording is being heard, Creed has declared me unavailable. A second voice asked, What is your verdict on? Tess answered, Not guilty of Elias Ward's murder. Then she added, Guilty of what happened to Juror 8. I stopped the recording. Tess watched me carefully. You know what that means. I did. 5 years earlier, Lantern had targeted a real jury for the first time. Juror 8 was the person I had tried hardest not to remember. Tess continued, Has final recordings for all 7 of us. Some clear you, some destroy you. Why? Because he does not need the truth. She looked toward the lift. He needs every possible verdict under his control. The doors opened. Stood inside. Tess whispered, Run. The corridor lights went out. When the lights returned, Tess was gone, stood alone beside the lift with both hands visible. He said my name once. I ran toward the stairwell. The fire door locked before I reached it. Did not chase me. He did not need to. Every exit in the building belonged to the same company paying him to defend me. Where is she? I asked. Who? Tess. He looked down the empty corridor. The laundry cart remained. The recorder was still in my hand. No one was here when the lift opened. You saw her. I saw you speaking to an empty hallway. The camera above us blinked. He was creating an alternative before I could describe the event. Security footage later showed exactly what claimed. I stood alone beside the cart. I appeared to listen, answer, and accept an object from empty air. The recorder did not appear in the video. Yet I held it. Watch my face as I understood. Hallucinations are not uncommon under acute legal stress, he said. Do not diagnose me. I am trying to explain evidence that will otherwise look very bad. That was how he controlled me. First, he made the world impossible. Then he became the only person offering an explanation. Back in the apartment, I locked myself in the bathroom and opened the recorder casing. Tess had hidden a paper strip beneath the battery. Room 12, Old Courthouse. Ask for the second verdict. The courthouse had closed 15 years earlier after asbestos contamination. Argent verdict leased part of it for archive storage. I waited until fell asleep on the sofa, or pretended to. The lift opened with his fingerprint. I had pressed his sleeping hand to the panel. He would later call that a violation. The lawyer who monitored my messages confined me inside a company apartment and used my therapy history against me would call a stolen fingerprint the point where I crossed a line. The old courthouse stood behind construction, fencing near the river. One basement window had been replaced recently. I entered through it. Room 12 had once been a jury deliberation room. 7 chairs faced a wall of black screens. A table in the center held witness folders marked with the same names from chart. Tess's folder contained her employment file, medical history, debts, private messages, and a psychological profile generated by Lantern. Compliance driver, fear of public discrediting. Rowan's profile listed. Compliance driver, son's immigration status. Feared losing her research license. Jonah feared prison. Feared exposure of an affair. Feared a source's death. Daniel had no profile, only a blank page. I turned on the screens. Tess appeared on all 7. She wore the same clothes from the corridor. This is my second verdict, she said. The timestamp was live. Tess, where are you? She looked towards someone off camera. I cannot answer location questions. Are you alive? Yes. Did take you? No. Did he threaten you? A pause. No. Her eyes said yes before her mouth said no. I asked what Juror 8 meant. Tess read from a prepared statement. 5 years ago, authorized targeted information delivery to a seated juror in the Crown v. trial. The juror changed his vote after receiving manipulated news, private financial pressure, and fabricated evidence concerning the defendant. That was not supposed to reach a real juror. You knew it might. I closed my eyes. Juror 8 was Colin Wren, a schoolteacher. Lantern identified him as the holdout in a fraud trial involving a hospital chain. Argent's client wanted conviction. I approved a public sentiment test using geofenced media. Colin's phone filled with stories suggesting the defendant had harmed children. The stories were technically true in fragments and false in arrangement. He changed his vote. The defendant was convicted. Colin died by suicide 8 months later after discovering the campaign. Tess's voice softened. Not guilty of Elias' murder does not mean innocent. The screen behind her displayed a countdown. 0:59. What happens when that reaches 0? My recording becomes final. You are speaking live. No. Tess looked directly at me. This conversation happened yesterday. The timer reached 0. Every screen went dark. The room door opened. Detective entered with her weapon raised. Behind her, officers carried a body bag. They placed it on the floor. Inside was Tess. The coroner estimated she had been dead for at least 12 hours. The woman I spoke to in the corridor could not have been Tess. The live conversation in room 12 could not have been live. Looked at the recorder in my hand. You were the last person seen with her. I looked toward the black screens. A line appeared. Second verdict recorded. Then another. 5 remain. Arrived at the old courthouse before the crime scene team finished photographing Tess. He did not ask how I found room 12. He asked whether I had touched the screens. That told me what mattered. Detectives sealed the room and took the witness folders. Objected on the grounds of attorney-client privilege. "Those are witness coercion files," she said. "They are defense preparation. They contain medical records. Lawyers investigate credibility. They contain compliance drivers." Smiled. "A dramatic label does not make lawful strategy criminal." He defended the room too quickly. Then he defended me. He told my arrival had been directed by an anonymous note, and that Tess's murder appeared designed to implicate me. He requested immediate protective custody. The same man who trapped me inside the apartment now argued the police could not be trusted to hold me safely. Every cage competed to call itself protection. Allowed me 5 minutes alone with before-arrest processing. He closed the interview room door. "You need to listen carefully," he said. "Tess is dead. Rowan is missing. The remaining witnesses are in danger. If you continue acting independently, more people will die." Is that a warning? It is a pattern. You knew the times. Those were scheduled deposition windows. Tess S. was tomorrow. The calendar was updated. By whom? He leaned close. "You are not equipped to investigate this." "What?" "Because I am the defendant. Because you still believe revelation changes power." Said the Room 12 system belonged to an abandoned Argent project called Chorus. It created interactive deposition models from a witness's prior testimony, voice samples, and behavioral data. Lawyers could test cross-examination strategies before trial. Tess's corridor appearance may have been an augmented projection. The Room 12 conversation may have been generated. Her future recording may have been a prepared simulation. Who activated it? I do not know. Who had access? He looked away. Argent, my firm, selected court administrators. And Lantern, possibly. The systems had merged. One predicted juries. One simulated witnesses. Together, they could rehearse an entire trial before any human entered court. Asked for the recorder. I gave him the outer casing and kept the memory chip hidden beneath my sleeve. He believed me because he wanted to. That was his weakness. Distrusted everyone's motives but overestimated his ability to read submission. After processing, released me under electronic monitoring. She did not believe I killed Tess. She also did not trust me. "That makes 2 of us," I said. She showed me a sealed list recovered from Tess's coat. The same 7 names. Each carried a verdict beside it. Rowan guilty. Tess not guilty, juror 8. No verdict. Jonah guilty of conspiracy. Not guilty. Guilty of Elias Ward. Daniels null. Different verdicts on what? Asked. My case, my past, maybe both. The list bore a court seal dated 3 months before Elias died. Our trial had been modeled before the alleged murder occurred. Said Daniel did not exist in national records. No birth certificate, employment history, tax file, passport, or biometric match. Yet Daniel had submitted a sworn statement, claiming he saw another person leave my office after Elias died. A non-existent witness had provided my strongest alibi. Someone built him. I used the hidden chip from Tess's recorder inside an offline laptop. It contained only one file, a video of Elias Ward. Alive, he sat inside the same Room 12 chair and looked directly into the camera. If sees this, the body was identified too early. Behind him, a date appeared. 2 weeks after his reported murder. Elias continued. Represents the defendant because needs access to the evidence before the prosecution understands what it has. He held up a photograph of the corpse found in my office. The dead man is not me. My breath stopped. Elias leaned closer. Do not celebrate. He was killed because I needed to disappear. The video ended. Watched without speaking. Then she asked the only question that mattered. If Elias is alive, who did you find on your floor? The body had been identified as Elias Ward through dental records, fingerprints, and a distinctive surgical pin in his left shoulder. 3 independent systems, all connected to Argent verdict vendors, reopened the identification and found the fingerprints had been uploaded through a court evidence terminal. The dental file came from a clinic represented by firm. The surgical serial number belonged to a batch, not an individual pin. The corpse could be anyone. That should have weakened the murder charge. Instead, the prosecutor argued I had helped Elias fake his death and killed an unknown accomplice. Every new fact became another version of guilt. Called before sunrise. You shared privileged material with detective. It was not privileged. You obtained it while represented. You keep using legal vocabulary as a leash. He became quiet. Then he said, come to the main courthouse. There is something you need to see. I went because refusing often meant following a route he had predicted less carefully. He led me through a records corridor behind Courtroom 7. A maintenance door opened with his bar card. Below the courthouse was another courtroom, not abandoned, active. A one-way glass wall overlooked 7 small rooms. Inside each sat 12 people wearing biometric wristbands. Mock juries. They watched a reconstruction of Elias' murder. My murder. Different versions played in each room. In one, I acted alone. In another, Elias attacked me first. In another, a masked figure entered. In another appeared. The jurors' pulse, gaze, and emotional responses flowed into a central display. Lantern ranked which story produced conviction, acquittal, outrage, sympathy, and audience retention. "This is illegal," I said. Corrected me. "This is unregulated." He had brought me there to frighten me with the scale. Argent had been running shadow trials beneath active courts for years. Court administrators leased the space through a consulting agreement. Lawyers paid for outcome analysis. Judges received public response forecasts. Media partners tested headlines. No one person bribed a juror. The system shaped the environment around them. Search results, local news, suggested videos, anonymous messages, community conversations seeded by contractors. Lantern did not tell jurors what to decide. It made one decision feel socially inevitable. I asked whether my real trial had already been tested. Displayed the results. Current conviction probability, 84%. If I accepted the plea, public approval 71%. If Elias appeared alive, conviction for conspiracy 63%. If Tess's murder was linked to me, 92%. If as counsel, 97%. You made yourself necessary, I said. Reality. You shaped it. Everyone shapes it. I simply refused to pretend courtroom persuasion begins at the courtroom door. He said he had discovered the shadow system after joining my defense. Argent concealed it from him. I almost believed him. Then a monitor displayed counsel strategy updates. Creed, active operator. He had used the system in 32 prior cases. He followed my eyes. Those were lawful simulations. Juror targeting, client protection, Colin Rend. His face changed. He knew Juror 8's name. I had never told him. Admitted his firm represented the hospital chain in Crown V. Argent provided Lantern. I approved the experiment. He approved using the results. We had ruined Colin together without meeting. That was why he chose my case. Not coincidence. Mutual evidence. If you expose me, he said, you expose yourself. Good. He laughed softly. You say that because you have not imagined prison correctly. He showed me the witness list on the central screen. Status changed from scheduled to active. A live camera opened. Dr. Nair sat inside a sealed interview room. She was Argent's behavioral science director and the person who taught Lantern to identify compliance drivers. Activated the microphone. Who killed Elias Ward? She looked toward us through the camera. It did not. Relief rose too quickly. Then continued. She killed Noah Crane. The unknown corpse had a name. Noah Crane, court clerk, 41 years old, missing for 4 months before Elias reported death. Looked at me. I had never heard the name. Said, you met him in this room 3 days before he died. The monitor played footage. I entered the underground jury lab with Noah. I gave him a folder. He opened it. Then I struck him. The clip ended before he fell. I remembered none of it. Whispered, now you understand why I wanted you to take the plea. Leaned toward the camera. No, she said. Now she understands why you removed the rest. Speed cut before she explained. The door to her interview room opened on the monitor. A man in court security uniform entered. The screen turned white. Called the building team. No response. By the time officers reached the room, was gone. Her chair remained warm. A needle lay on the floor. 3 witnesses vanished. 1 body. 4 names left. Detained and me separately. He invoked privilege. I invoked distrust. I told her about Noah Crane. She found him in court payroll records. He worked nights maintaining evidence systems. 4 months before Elias died, Noah reported unauthorized access to sealed jury data. The complaint disappeared. So did he. His photograph resembled the corpse only after death had swollen the face. The body in my office was Noah. Elias was alive. That should have made me a witness to a different murder. Instead, clip showed me assaulting Noah inside the underground lab. Recovered the full video from a backup camera. I gave Noah a folder. He opened it. I struck his shoulder, not his head. He handed me a small device. We embraced. Then another person entered. Daniel, the witness who did not exist. He looked directly at the camera with an ordinary face my mind refused to retain. Each time I looked away, I lost a detail. Daniel spoke to Noah. Noah followed him from the room. I left through another door. The footage did not show murder. It proved Daniel existed physically. Ran facial recognition. No match. She enhanced his voice. The result matched 7 different men at confidence levels above 80%. A composite voice. She asked whether Argent could generate a person in live footage. Not when Lantern began. And now, I do not know. Sent a message through his assistant requesting I speak with him. I refused. His assistant returned with a handwritten note. Daniel is a role, not a person. I agreed to 10 minutes. Explained Argent maintained continuity identities for sensitive operations. Multiple contractors used the same name, digital records, voice profile, and appearance alterations. Daniel could appear in different cities without one operative traveling. A witness who was several people. A perfect alibi. A perfect assassin. Did your firm create him? I asked. Argent did. Who used him with Noah? I am trying to determine that. You always know one fact less than responsibility. He looked tired. For the first time, not. Said his firm had represented Daniel identities in sealed national security cases. He believed one Daniel infiltrated my defense team. The call logs, witness schedules, room 12 access. Someone has been reading our strategy. You monitored everything I did. To keep you alive. Tess is dead. His eyes hardened. You left protection. There it was. Her death became evidence that his control had been justified. I asked what happened to. He showed me a message received after her disappearance. A recording. Sat beside Rowan in the same dark room. Both wore neural response bands around their wrists. A voice asked, "What is your verdict?" She answered, "Is not guilty of Noah Crane's death." The voice asked Rowan again. Rowan said, "Is guilty of building the system that selected him." Then Daniel entered frame. Not the man from the lab footage. A woman's. Same name badge. Same neutral expression. She removed Rowan's wristband. His heart monitor stopped. Screamed. Daniel looked toward the camera. Witness 1 finalized. The recording ended. We did not know whether Rowan had been killed, or whether the monitor was part of the simulation. Sat in silence. I asked whether he still wanted me to take the plea. Yes, even if Elias is alive. Yes, even if Rowan was murdered. Yes. What? Why? His answer came without hesitation. Because the trial is not deciding what happened. It is deciding which version the system can survive. He opened a new agreement. 10 years for obstruction and unlawful jury interference. The murder charge would disappear. How did you get that offer so quickly? Folded his hands. Because the prosecution knows Elias is alive. Had not known. I had not known. My defense lawyer and the prosecutor had been negotiating around the survival of the alleged murder victim, while still preparing to try me for his death. Both sides were protecting something larger than the case. Daniel was not one person. Neither was the prosecution. It was another role inside the same trial. Noah Crane's identity turned the case inside out. His widow had reported him missing 17 times. The police classified him as voluntarily absent because a text from his phone said he had left the country. The text originated from an Argent server. Noah had discovered the underground jury rooms while repairing evidence cables. He footage, court contracts, and lantern targeting reports. Elias helped him prepare the files for publication. I joined them 3 days before Noah vanished. The folder I gave Noah contained juror profiles from Crown v. Colin Wren's profile was on top. I had gone to confess my role. That memory returned while showed me the folder. Not as an image, as shame in my hands. Noah told me confession was not enough. He wanted access to Lantern's live client index. I gave him the device in the video. Then Daniel arrived. Noah left with Daniel because Elias had arranged a safe house. I believed him protected. 2 days later, Noah stopped answering. Elias accused me of exposing the meeting. We argued in my office. That was the last clear memory I had before waking beside Noah's body. Someone had drugged me. The prosecution toxicology report showed no sedative. The private blood sample taken by Argent's clinic had been lost. Controlled the clinic. I confronted him. He said the sample was destroyed by court order. Found no such order. Scum began cracking around the edges. He accused the detective of turning me against the only person preventing remand. She replied, "You keep saying that as though fear is a legal service." We searched Noah's court locker. Inside was an old hearing headset and a photograph of 7 people standing in room 12. Rowand, Tess, Jonah Bale, a former bailiff, an Argent jury researcher, Moss Elias editor, Noah. The 7 listed witnesses were not the 7 in the photograph. Daniel had replaced Noah on his list after the murder. The 7th witness was the dead man. Daniel existed to occupy his legal position, a substitute witness for a substitute corpse. Noah had left an audio file inside the headset. His voice was faint beneath courthouse noise. If you are hearing this, Elias' plan failed. He explained Elias wanted to stage his own death, not for publicity, to escape a private prosecution network that used sealed warrants to seize journalists' sources. Noah refused to use another body. Elias promised no one would be harmed. Then Daniel told Noah the body would come from an unclaimed morgue case. Noah agreed to help falsify access records. The body became Noah. His own participation created the route to his death. Noah's recording continued. Does not know the full plan, does. I stopped playback, stood at the locker room door, had not told him our location. He watched me holding the headset. Noah was frightened, he said. His conclusions were unstable. You knew Elias planned to disappear. I advised him on source protection. You represented him. Briefly, and now you represent me. Also briefly, if you keep waiving privilege in corridors. The cruelty returned when his control weakened. I asked whether he arranged the body swap. No. Did you know Noah was selected? No. Did you know Daniel was multiple people? Yes. Did you tell Elias? Yes. Did you tell me? No. Each answer created a shape. Had not necessarily killed Noah. He had built the legal architecture around the operation, then entered my defense to control what survived. Arrested him for obstruction. The prosecutor ordered his release within the hour. Attorney-client privilege, sealed national security agreements, insufficient evidence. Law insulated him faster than facts could form. That night, I received the 4th witness recording. Jonah Bale sat in a church basement. He had been a bailiff during Crown v. and later delivered lantern devices near jurors' homes. What is your verdict? The unseen voice asked. Jonah answered, is guilty of conspiracy. Did she kill Noah Crane? No. Who did? Jonah looked directly at me. The person who called herself Elias Ward. I replayed the sentence. Not who called himself. Herself. Elias Ward was not the journalist's real identity either. The dead man, the missing witnesses, Daniel and now Elias. The case had no stable names left. Only roles. Elias Ward's public face belonged to a man. The legal identity belonged to a dead woman. Moss confirmed it through an encrypted call. She was the 5th listed witness and Elias' editor at the Ledger. She spoke from a room with no visible windows. Elias Ward was created for source protection, she said. Different reporters published under the name. How many? 4 over 12 years. The man I knew as Elias was Adrian Holt. Before him, a woman named Rusk used the byline. She disappeared after investigating judicial data contracts. Jonah's recording may have referred to not Adrian, or to another operator wearing the identity. Roles inside roles, said helped create the legal structure protecting Elias Ward. His firm held the publishing rights, source escrow, and emergency identity protocols. He defended the journalist identity, then defended me against its murder. He controlled both sides because both were his clients. I asked whether Adrian Holt was alive. Yes. Where? I do not know. Did he kill Noah? I do not know. Every person in this case knew enough to redirect and not enough to resolve. Gave me one fact she had. After Noah vanished, Adrian discovered one Daniel operative had sold the safe house location. Adrian confronted, proposed the staged death as protection. Noah's body appeared before Adrian agreed. Someone accelerated the plan, believed Rusk was still alive, and running the Daniel network from inside court administration. The first Elias had become the person hunting later versions. Toxic institutions preserve themselves by turning former victims into managers. Caldwell was speaking. The encrypted connection displayed him as a 3rd participant. He had accessed the call. He said, "You are violating your source agreement." She did not look surprised. "You are violating the law." The agreement is the law governing this identity. He believed contracts could become morality if written densely enough. I asked him directly whether Rusk killed Noah. Said he had never met her. Laughed. You married her strategy. His face changed. Not metaphor. Recognition. Explained, designed the dual representation model. One law firm quietly advised defense, prosecution consultants, witnesses, and media rights holders. No one lawyer saw the whole conflict. Perfected it. He did not need to bribe both sides. He placed himself inside both. Warned to disconnect. She refused. A red light appeared behind her. Her room door opened. She looked over her shoulder, then back at me. "My verdict," she said quickly. "Not guilty of murder, guilty of helping them teach juries to hate uncertainty." The feed froze. A gunshot sounded. The image vanished, stared at the blank screen. For once, his reaction appeared unprepared. "Where is she?" I asked. "I do not know. Can you trace the room?" "No." "You trace the call?" "What?" I entered through the legal relay, not location data. Later found the relay originated inside the prosecutor's office. Someone there had watched subduction. The prosecutor claimed the terminal was compromised, offered to resign as my counsel, then explained conviction probability would rise above 95% if he did. A resignation shaped like a threat. I told him to remain. He mistook that for surrender. I needed access to his strategy. I apologized for doubting him. I said the layers of false identity had overwhelmed me. I said I understood why he had information. He touched my shoulder. "You are finally thinking like a defendant," meaning dependent. Showed me the prosecution's proposed evidence schedule. He should not have possessed it. He also showed me a private judicial memo predicting public unrest if the trial collapsed. The state needed a verdict. Argent needed Lantern protected. Needed the dual representation network hidden. Adrian needed his identity restored. The witnesses needed to survive. Noah needed a name. I needed freedom. Too many motives for one truth. Said trial would begin in 4 days. The prosecutor intended to play my 6 witness recordings even though the witnesses were unavailable. Planned to challenge authenticity, then introduce his own versions. A battle of synthetic dead people. "Will I testify?" I asked. "No. I want to. You would destroy yourself. Then prepare me." His eyes sharpened. That was the invitation he wanted. Believed cross-examination could break me into the version most useful to him. He began asking questions immediately. Did I authorize Lantern's first juror intervention? Yes. Did I conceal the result? Yes. Did I meet Noah? Yes. Did I hate Elias after he threatened to expose me? Yes. Did I wish him dead? I paused, smiled. Again, he would rehearse me until uncertainty sounded guilty. I let him. Every answer, every correction, every private strategy note passed through the recording system in his office. He thought he was building my confession. I was collecting his questions. A lawyer reveals what he knows by what he prepares you to deny. Trained me for 36 hours. He controlled sleep, food, lighting, and the order of questions. He called it witness preparation. At midnight, the room was too warm. At 3, too cold. At dawn, he played photographs of Noah's body while asking whether I regretted what happened. If I said yes, regret became admission. If I said no, calm became cruelty. If I asked to stop, avoidance became consciousness of guilt. Did not need to invent a trap. Language supplied one. He taught me to answer narrowly, then punished narrow answers as evasive. By the second night, I understood how innocent people confessed simply to reach the end of a question. I also learned his pattern. Whenever he knew evidence existed, he asked about facts. Whenever he feared evidence existed, he asked about feelings. He knew Rowan had discovered elevator routing. He knew Tess had recorded Juror 8. He knew had seen the full Noah footage. He knew Jonah possessed delivery logs. He feared had client names. He feared knew Rusk's location. He feared Daniel was no longer under one operator. Most of all, he feared Adrian Holt appearing alive. I hid a second recorder inside the legal pad he gave me, not to capture privileged strategy for court. That would be challenged. I need its voice for room 12. Chorus authenticated operators through repeated phrasing. Tess's hidden chip contained a trigger sequence built from the person asking, "What is your verdict?" Used that phrase during preparation. He had asked all 7 witnesses. The recordings were not made by an unknown captor. They were made during his own deposition sessions, then edited into darkroom videos. He had collected every verdict in advance. Maybe he did not abduct them. He had prepared their post-disappearance testimony. I asked why defense counsel needed witnesses to declare me guilty. To understand the worst version. Why record it as a final statement? Dead witnesses cannot be cross-examined. He froze, then corrected himself. Unavailable witnesses. The word dead had arrived first. I looked down so he would not see recognition. Continued. He showed me the prosecution's opening presentation. It included a photograph of Elias' body. Noah's body. The label still read Elias Ward, even after identification was disputed. Both sides planned to preserve the original name because changing it would confuse jurors. A dead person's identity was being sacrificed for narrative clarity. I said Noah's name aloud. Stop the presentation. The jury does not need collateral complexity. He was murdered. The jury is deciding whether you committed the charged act. What act? Elias is alive. Adrian Holt may be alive. Elias Ward is a protected legal identity. A death attached to that identity can still produce fraud, obstruction, and conspiracy liability. He could make murder survive the victim. I asked whether the prosecutor knew Noah's identity. Yes. Why conceal it? Because revealing the body substitution would compromise national security witnesses. Daniel, among others, you negotiated this. Yes. The admission came because he no longer believed I could use it. That was the intimacy of control. The more trapped he thought I was, the more honest he became. Offered a new arrangement. I would testify that Adrian and Noah planned the staged death, that I discovered the scheme too late, and that an unknown Daniel operative killed Noah. The murder charge would be reduced. Lantern would remain sealed. Colin Wren's case would never reopen. You want me to save myself by keeping a wrongful conviction buried. The defendant died in prison. So did Colin. Exactly. No living person benefits from reopening it. Power loves dead people because it can define benefit for them. I asked what happened to. Said she had agreed to a protected deposition. Where? Secure location. Alive. He looked irritated. Yes. Prove it. He played a recording, sat at a desk, and read a statement declaring I had ordered Lantern to target Colin. The timestamp showed tomorrow. Her eyes moved repeatedly toward the lower left corner. Reading a script, I asked what he had promised her. Immunity. For what? He stopped the video, had not only researched jurors. She had selected Noah as a low-risk substitute body. The room tilted, told me she believed he was already dead. Everyone believed the person beneath them was already dead. That was how the chain functioned. No one killed. They only selected, rooted, prepared, concealed, or failed to ask. I looked into the office camera. I will testify. Relaxed. Good. But I want the testimony live. Why? No edited feed. No claim the court hid my words. He considered the public reaction model. Lantern would prefer live drama. Agreed. That was the mistake. He thought that belonged to the court. He had forgotten who designed the system measuring everyone watching. Before trial, I visited Colin Wren's widow. Detective arranged it without knowledge. Anna Wren lived above a closed stationery shop. She opened the door, saw my name on the warrant notice, and tried to close it. I did not stop her. I approved the system that targeted Colin, I said through the gap. The door remained open 3 inches. I know. She had received an anonymous archive after his death. Tailored headlines, neighborhood messages, fabricated parent complaints, and search suggestions designed to make the defendant appear dangerous. Colin thought he had independently discovered information, the court. He changed his vote. After sentencing, a Lantern employee contacted him as part of outcome research. The employee asked whether social pressure had influenced his decision. Colin realized he had been used. He reported it. His firm sent him a legal threat for accessing protected trial analytics. He stopped sleeping, Anna said. Every memory of the trial became evidence against himself. She let me inside. On the table sat Colin's final notebook. He had listed the people involved. My name appeared beside algorithm design, beside client authorization, beside juror selection, Jonah beside physical delivery, beside compliance model, Argent executives, court contractors, media vendors, a network of people who could each say they had not changed a vote. Colin wrote one sentence beneath the names. They built a room around my choice and called the choice mine. Anna asked why I had come. I told her plan to keep the case sealed in exchange for reducing my charge. And you want my permission to choose yourself? No. That surprised her. I came to tell you I am not taking it. She stared at me. Do not turn refusing a deal into nobility. You had years. I know. Do not say you know. Knowing is the cheapest part. She was right. I asked whether I could use Colin's notebook during the trial. No. The refusal hurt because I deserved it. Then she gave me 1 page. Not the list. A diagram. Colin had mapped how Lantern delivered information through courthouse Wi-Fi, public screens, local apps, and news syndication. At the center was a relay called Public Verdict Feed. The same system now carried analytics for my trial. Every viewer became a mock juror. The court was not only broadcasting proceedings, it was measuring reactions and adjusting strategy in real time. Would receive the data through his counsel tablet. So would the prosecutor. Both sides would optimize toward public certainty. Collins' diagram showed a maintenance route into the relay. I asked Anna why she gave it to me. Because exposing the machine is not the same as forgiving you. I understand. No, you understand words. We will see what you do when the truth costs you the thing you want. Freedom. She did not say it. She did not need to. On my way out, Anna asked whether Collins' vote had been wrong. The defendant had committed financial fraud. The evidence supported conviction even without Lantern. That fact had protected us for years. We told ourselves manipulation did not change the result. I do not know, I said. You know he never got to find out. That was the harm, not necessarily the verdict. Ownership of the decision. Back at the courthouse, waited in the consultation room. He knew where I had gone. He placed Collins' sealed psychological report on the table. It described depression, financial stress, and marital conflict. He was vulnerable before Lantern said. Vulnerability is not permission. It is causation complexity. He named you. He named everyone because guilt gave him structure. Used Collins' pain to discredit the accusation created by exploiting Collins' pain. I asked whether he had sent the legal threat. Yes. Did you know he was suicidal? No. The answer was true enough to survive. Did you ask? He looked away. That was all I needed. I told I would follow his trial strategy. I would admit Lantern misconduct, but deny murder. I would describe Adrian and Noah's plan. I would let him control direct examination. He touched my hand. Trust me until verdict. The request sounded intimate. The limit sounded temporary. Abusers often promise control will end after the crisis they are extending. I smiled. Until verdict. In my pocket, Collins' diagram pressed against my leg. The trial's public relay had an old emergency function. If activated, every authenticated witness file would override the court feed. Possessed 7 final recordings. I possessed the trigger. I still needed the witnesses. Jonah Bale led detective to the safe house by dying twice. His first death appeared in a police alert. Body found in a burned vehicle outside Dover. His second appeared in witness status file. Protected witness deceased during relocation. The dental identification came from the same clinic used for Elias. We stopped believing bodies when names arrived too quickly. Traced Jonah's old bailiff access card to a courthouse-owned conference center in Kent. Its official capacity was 30. Utility records showed continuous occupancy for 9 months. We entered through a kitchen service door at dawn. The safe house had no exterior handles on the bedroom doors. Inside were Rowan, Jonah, and alive. The room was empty. Tess S. was sealed with police tape. The 4 witnesses did not react with relief when they saw me. They had been told I was the reason they could not leave. Rowan believed I had threatened his son, believed I planned to expose her research and blame her for Colin. Jonah believed I wanted him dead because he could link me to physical juror targeting. Believed I knew she selected Noah. Each had been shown messages in my voice. Each had watched simulations of me confessing, had not merely hidden witnesses. He had maintained separate versions of me inside the same building, found chorus projectors in the ceilings. Witnesses received personalized visits from lawyers, investigators, and family members who were not physically present. The safe house had no exits because its residents could not agree on who controlled the doors. Jonah approached me first. "What is your verdict?" I asked. He flinched, had conditioned the phrase. Jonah said his recorded guilty verdict referred to conspiracy, not murder. He had delivered Lantern equipment near Collins' home. I approved the research budget, but did not know real jurors were targeted until after the first delivery. I had suspected. Suspicion is the space institutions use to sell innocence. Rowan admitted he rerouted the courthouse elevator himself. It opened into a sealed service floor. He vanished because told him a prosecution team planned to arrest his son on false immigration charges. Did not abduct him. He created the only choice Rowan believed protected someone. Entered her room voluntarily after receiving evidence that Lantern's psychological models had contributed to 3 suicides. Jonah agreed to fake his death for immunity. Accepted protection after learning the dead body was Noah. All 4 participated in their own disappearance. Would call that consent. The doors called it something else. Opened Tess's room. Blood marked the mattress. No body. A camera archive showed Tess brought into the room unconscious. Later, a Daniel operative removed her on a medical cart. The corpse found in the old courthouse might not have been Tess. Another body substitution. Another identity. Said the body came from a private cadaver supplier, alive or dead before preparation. She did not know. I asked whether she had selected it. Her eyes filled. Yes. The word came out small. Then she said Noah was different. A Daniel operator gave her a file identifying him as terminally ill, estranged, and willing to participate in a protective identity operation. The file was false, approved him as a replacement based on disposability criteria she had once used for mock profiles. She did not kill Noah. She made him easy to select. A siren sounded through the house, appeared on every wall screen. He sat inside the courtroom, preparing exhibits. He said, "You have compromised protected witnesses." Aimed her weapon at the nearest camera. Continued, "If these people leave the property, national security warrants activate. Rowan's son will be detained. Loses immunity. Jonah's sealed charges reopen. Becomes the primary suspect in Noah's murder. He had built legal explosives into every exit. I told the witnesses the threats might be real. Smiled. That is why they work. The front doors unlocked. No one moved. He offered them a choice. Remain protected and testify through final recordings. Leave with me and accept prosecution. The live trial began in 20 hours. I could not promise freedom. I could only promise they would own their testimony. Rowan asked what I would admit. Everything about Lantern. Jonah asked whether I would identify. Yes. Asked whether I would protect Argent's research from public release. No. Asked whether I believed she murdered Noah. I believe you helped create the conditions. She looked at the floor. Same as you. Yes. One by one, they stepped across the threshold. The system sent alerts. Warrants activated. Watched from the screen as his protected witnesses chose uncertainty over controlled safety. His expression did not change. Then the House speakers played Moss's voice. "Do not leave." The empty room door opened. Stood inside. She held a gun. Behind her was Adrian Holt. Alive. Adrian Holt looked thinner than the man who had accused me of hiding Lantern, but he was alive. That should have ended the murder case. It did not end the danger. Held the weapon because Adrian had brought a Daniel operative into the safe house, and she no longer trusted anyone wearing an ordinary face. Adrian said the operator had escaped, demanded proof of identity. He supplied a childhood injury, source passwords, and a private message he once sent me. All could have been. I asked what he said during our final argument. You told me exposing Lantern would ruin innocent cases. I said innocent cases do not need secret juries. That was true, or accurately reconstructed. Adrian showed us the scar beneath his left shoulder. The surgical pin used to identify the body had been modeled from his medical scan. Alive enough, he admitted planning to fake his death with. The body was supposed to be a legally donated cadaver. Daniel substituted Noah after discovering Noah had the dual representation network. Adrian found out after the body was placed in my office. He could have stopped the plan. Instead, he continued because revealing himself would expose sources and destroy the investigation. Noah became acceptable loss. Adrian called that his worst decision. The phrase was becoming crowded. Said Adrian had spent 4 months building a case against Argent, court administrators, and the prosecutor. The 7 witnesses were pieces of his proof. Then why let them vanish? I did not control's response. You used as bait, Rowan said. Adrian did not deny it. He needed inside my defense, so privilege records, witness strategy, and dual representation communications would converge around one trial. My freedom was part of his evidence plan. Everyone wanted my case live for different reasons. Wanted controlled acquittal or plea. The prosecutor wanted institutional stability. Adrian wanted public exposure. Argent wanted Lantern validated under attack. I wanted the truth. Even that desire was not neutral. Truth offered me a path to survival. Adrian revealed the second trial. While my criminal case proceeded publicly, a hidden arbitration panel would determine ownership of Lantern, Chorus, and Elias Ward's source archive. The panel included Argent executives, government buyers, and media companies. Represented Argent there. At the same time, he represented me in criminal court. If I was convicted, Argent would classify my misconduct as unauthorized and keep the technology. If I was acquitted, would argue the systems were reliable and the murder evidence was external sabotage. Either verdict protected the product. The only dangerous outcome was no clean verdict. That became our strategy. We would not prove one coherent alternative. We would expose the process selecting coherence. Adrian wanted to release every file at once, warned that Lantern contained private juror data, therapy records, and witness addresses. Public exposure could harm thousands. Again, evidence held victims hostage. We needed targeted release during trial. Collins' public relay diagram allowed authenticated witness recordings to enter the court feed. Each witness would attach a separate evidence package, redacted for non-participants. Rowan, elevator routing and security fabrication. Compliance models. Jonah, physical juror targeting. Body substitution pipeline. Elias identity contracts. Adrian, dual representation. The seventh witness slot remained Daniel. We replaced it with Noah Crane. His own recording from the headset would testify. Not interactive, not synthetic, only his voice. Would challenge all of it. The challenge was useful. Chorus authenticated operator denials by comparing them to deposition sessions. Every time claimed ignorance, his prior questions could reveal what he knew. He had trained me. Now his preparation became cross-examination of himself. Lowered the guns. The safe house doors remained open. Police warrants populated his tablet. She looked at the witnesses. If you come with me, some of you will be arrested. Jonah asked whether staying made them safer. No. That honesty moved them more than protection promises. We left in 2 vehicles. Adrian rode with me. For 4 months I had imagined seeing him alive. In some versions I struck him. In others I cried. In reality I asked, did you ever believe I killed you? No. Did you believe I might have killed Noah? Yes. Why? You taught a system to remove uncertainty. People who do that often become comfortable removing obstacles. The judgment hurt because it carried truth without proof. I asked whether he still believed it. I believe you did not strike the fatal blow. That is not what I asked. He looked out the window. No one in this case gets the answer they want from me. Adrian had returned from the dead, and still thought withholding himself was integrity. I understood then why I had once trusted him. He resembled in the place where control wore a moral face. Dr. Nair disappeared again before opening statements. This time no locked elevator, no false body. She walked into the prosecutor's office and requested immunity. In exchange, she gave them the safe house location, our witness files, and Collins' public relay diagram, learned through an internal alert 2 hours later. The courthouse sealed every maintenance route. The witness recordings were classified as compromised. Visited my holding cell with the serenity of a man whose prediction had arrived. Chose survival. She chose you. No, she chose the prosecution. You represent their consultants. He smiled. You are finally learning that conflict labels are less useful than incentives. Believed Adrian planned to release raw lantern data despite our redaction agreement. She feared victims would sue her, regulators would imprison her, and former research subjects would learn how closely she had modeled them. Promised a sealed cooperation deal. She chose the monster whose teeth she understood. I asked whether he threatened her. I described exposure. Did you offer protection? I described alternatives. Consent again, cleaned through grammar. Showed me the prosecution's revised plan. Would testify that I directed Lantern's real juror experiments. Knew Colin was targeted, and later ordered Noah removed because he threatened disclosure. The last accusation was false. The earlier ones were close enough to make it believable. He urged me to take the plea before her testimony. I refused. Sat beside me. He lowered his voice. The public does not forgive technical distinctions when a person is dead. They will hear that you designed the system, approved the budget, concealed the harm, met Noah, and woke beside his body. Adrian's survival will look like conspiracy. The witness's disappearance will look like your cleanup. Is that your legal advice? Yes. Or the verdict you need. His jaw tightened. I told him I was testifying live. He said he would ask the court to find me incompetent against counsel's advice. On what basis? He placed my therapy notes on the table. I had seen a trauma counselor after Colin's death, had obtained records through Argent's executive policy. I described intrusive guilt, memory gaps, and fear that I could rationalize harm. He planned to use my request to testify as evidence of self-destructive instability. Private doubt became legal incapacity when a lawyer needed silence. I asked whether he had ever represented a client without collecting the language required to discredit them. That is offensive. It was a question. You are not thinking clearly. There it was. The phrase controlling men use when clarity stops serving them. I leaned closer. Ask me what my verdict is. He looked confused. Ask, what is your verdict? The hidden recorder inside my sleeve captured his voice. Chorus trigger complete. Realized too late. He grabbed my wrist. The guard entered, released me, and said I had become agitated. The guard saw his hand leaving my arm and my body pressed against the wall. For once, the visual story did not belong only to him. At the hearing, argued against my testimony. I fired him in open court. The room went silent. He said I could not remove counsel appointed under a corporate protection agreement. The judge replied that criminal defendants choose representation. Looked toward the prosecutor. The prosecutor objected to delay. Both needed him seated beside me. I requested self-representation with advisory counsel from independent legal unit. The judge warned it was dangerous. I know. Stood at the defense table holding my files. You cannot conduct this case without me. That sentence contained more fear than anger. I looked at the camera. I do not intend to conduct the case you prepared. The judge granted a one-day recess. Was removed from counsel table. Outside, headlines called it a breakdown. Lantern's public model shifted conviction probability to 94%. Colin's diagram route had been sealed. Had betrayed us. The court relay was blocked. Then Anna Wren contacted me. Colin had drawn 2 routes. The public feed was one. The second ran through the stenography system. Tess had known. The dead court reporter had built a hidden door into every official transcript. Had controlled the pictures. Tess controlled the words. The prosecution's opening statement lasted 53 minutes. Lantern predicted applause peaks, even though court audiences were forbidden to react. Every major sentence appeared in social media summaries before the prosecutor finished speaking. Partner news sites published analysis matching the state's order of evidence. Suggested search results paired my name with serial manipulation. The verdict environment was already built. I watched the jury. Juror 3 glanced repeatedly at his smartwatch despite the judge's order. Juror 6 looked toward the public gallery whenever moved. Juror 11 mouthed phrases before the prosecutor said them. Not bribed. Prepared. My advisory counsel asked whether I wanted a mistrial motion. No. Needed a clean procedural reset if exposure began. We had to let the machinery operate long enough to show its shape. The state displayed Noah's body under Elias' name. I objected. The judge required correction. For the first time, Noah Crane's name appeared on the courtroom screens. The prosecutor argued identity remained disputed. I asked that his widow be before images continued. The judge agreed. A small act. Tablet updated from the gallery. Public sympathy for me rose 4%. He was still receiving Lantern data despite removal from the case. Adrian photographed the screen. Opening day ended with the jury instructed not to consume media already designed to reach them indirectly. That evening, obtained a sealed trial contingency memo from a court clerk. It had been written 6 weeks earlier. Outcome A, murder conviction, Argent distances from MARA. Outcome B, conspiracy plea, Lantern remains sealed. Outcome C, acquittal, system sabotage attributed to ELIAS network. Outcome D, counsel conflict exposed, judicial emergency, feed termination. Outcome E, witness reappearance, national security removal. The trial had institutional responses for every likely truth. One line at the bottom read, uncontrolled outcome. Multiple witnesses deliver contradictory testimony without central authentication. That was what they feared. Not proof, unmanaged contradiction. We prepared the witness recordings for Tess's transcript relay. The stenography system converted authenticated phrases into exhibit links. A court reporter could trigger them by entering a sequence of punctuation marks invisible in the public transcript. Tess had trained her replacement, Jonah said. The replacement reporter was a Daniel identity. We did not know which operator sat 3 meters from the judge. Another role suggested exposing the reporter immediately. I refused. The relay required Daniel's court credentials. We needed the operative seated. During the second day, she described me as brilliant, controlling, and emotionally detached. All familiar words. She said I approved the Colin intervention. True. She said I celebrated the conviction. False. She said I instructed to identify a replaceable body for Elias' disappearance. False. Cross-examined gently. Admitted, negotiated her immunity. She admitted Argent paid her legal fees. She admitted her psychological models identified fear of license, loss as her primary compliance driver. The jury looked confused, began crying. The prosecutor objected to harassment, asked one final question. Did threaten your license? No. Who did? Looked at. He sat behind the prosecution team as a corporate observer. The judge ordered her to answer. Whispered, Mr. Creed described what regulators would do if I refused cooperation. Had not threatened. He had described. The jury understood the distinction anyway. During recess, approached me under guard. She said the prosecutor had another contingency. The judge's medical monitor had been compromised. If the witness recordings activated, a false cardiac alert would remove him and trigger emergency feed termination. Outcome D. The verdict had been written. So had the mistrial. I asked why. She told me, because agreement protects my license only if the trial reaches verdict. And if it collapses, I become disposable. She had not returned to my side. She had discovered there was no side where she remained safe. That was enough. We altered the plan. We would not trigger the recordings during evidence. We would wait until my testimony. Expected confession. The prosecutor expected collapse. The judge expected control. I would give each what they prepared for. Then Tess's hidden transcript would ask the 7 witnesses one question. The system could not answer for them. Not who is guilty, who chose your words. I took the witness stand on the 7th day. The prosecutor began with Lantern. I admitted designing its compliance framework. I admitted approving the test. I admitted suspecting real jurors might receive targeted content. I admitted remaining silent after Colin changed his vote. Each answer weakens leverage. The prosecutor expected denial and had prepared documents to expose me. Instead, I authenticated them. He changed tactics. Did you intend to manipulate Juror 8? I intended to measure whether his information environment could be influenced. That is not an answer. It is the language I used to avoid answering myself. The courtroom became quiet. I described Colin's death. Anna watched from the gallery. I did not ask her forgiveness with my eyes. The prosecutor asked whether guilt motivated me to kill Elias when he threatened exposure. No. Did you hate him? Yes. Did you strike Noah Crane? On the shoulder, during a staged argument we used to test whether the room was recording. Did you know he would be used as a substitute body? No. Did your work make that selection possible? Yes. Objected that the question was argumentative. I said I wanted to answer. The judge allowed it. Public reaction shifted across tablet. He looked down, then at me. Confession without surrender confused Lantern. The system predicted people either deny guilt to preserve freedom or confess to seek mercy. It did not model accepting one wrongdoing while refusing another. The prosecutor played my office argument with Adrian. I said I wished he would disappear, a familiar phrase turned literal by later events. I explained context. The prosecutor called explanation excuse. I agreed context did not erase the words. Again, he lost the fight he prepared. Then he asked whether I killed the man found in my office. No. Can you prove that? No. Can you identify who did? No. Can you explain why 7 witnesses connected to your defense disappeared? Yes. Every head lifted. Stood in the gallery. The prosecutor objected before I answered. He had asked the question. The judge overruled. I said the witnesses disappeared through a network of private protection agreements, court facilities, identity operators, legal threats, and personalized coercion. Some entered voluntarily. Some were deceived. At least one was killed or replaced. Who controlled that network? Creed, Argent Verdict, court contractors, prosecution consultants, and the protected identity known as Elias Ward all controlled pieces. The prosecutor smiled. So everyone except you. No, I built Lantern. Without it, they would not have known which fear moved each witness. That answer hurt more than accusation. It was also true. I looked toward the court reporter. The person wearing the Daniel roll kept typing. Tess's punctuation trigger required a phrase entered into the official transcript. Asked the question on redirect. Who chose your words? I answered, I did today. The reporter's fingers paused, then typed. A hidden light appeared beneath the stenography screen. The relay opened. Saw it. He moved toward the aisle. Detective blocked him. The judge's medical monitor began alarming. He looked startled but remained conscious. Had disconnected the false emergency link before taking the stand. Outcome D failed. Court security moved toward the controls. Adrian and activated mirror feeds from the press gallery. The judge ordered everyone seated. Asked me what I wanted the court to hear. The final recordings. The prosecutor objected. Shouted they are privileged. That word authenticated him as operator. Tess's system recognized his voice. The courtroom screens turned black. A title appeared. 7 witnesses, 7 verdicts, no central edit. Rowan appeared first, alive, seated inside the safe house room. He looked directly at. My final recording was prepared by defense counsel before I vanished. Shouted that the file was fabricated. The system displayed his deposition audio asking Rowan, "What is your verdict?" Authentication match, 100%. The recording continued. Rowan said, "Did not kill Noah Crane. She helped build the system that made me believe disappearing was my only safe choice." Then Tess appeared, not the synthetic corridor projection, a pre-recorded deposition made before her death. She said, "Is not innocent, is not her protector. I was instructed to record both conclusions because the firm needed whichever verdict survived." The court could have stopped the feed. Too many mirrors were live. The final recordings had begun. For the first time, no lawyer controlled their order. This recording followed Tess. She described Lantern's compliance models and identified every person who requested witness pressure reports. My name appeared on early research approvals. It appeared on operational authorizations. The prosecutor's consultant appeared on live trial deployment. No clean side. Jonah displayed delivery logs proving court contractors seeded content around Colin Wren. He admitted his own role, showed the body substitution pipeline, cadaver suppliers, medical transports, identity transfers, Daniel operators. She named Noah Crane as a living person, falsely classified as a willing terminal participant. Her voice broke when she said she approved the file, tried to leave, placed him under temporary detention for witness tampering. He demanded counsel. The irony did not make him smaller. His recording appeared fifth. The background differed from the room where we heard the gunshot. She was alive, hiding inside the courthouse media center. The shooting sound had been a chorus simulation triggered when entered the call. She had used his own witness technology to make him believe she was dead. Why, the prosecutor asked aloud, answered in the recording as though hearing him, to force every operator to reveal which systems they accessed after my death. Logs appeared. Sfirm, Argent Security, the prosecutor's office, 3 court administrators, all searched for source archive within minutes of the simulated shooting. They authenticated their interest. The 6th recording belonged to Adrian Holt. He appeared alive on the screen before walking into the courtroom from the press gallery. The jury gasped. Adrian admitted staging the death of Elias Ward. He admitted allowing Noah's body to remain under the Elias identity. He admitted using my trial to gather evidence. He said provided the legal structure, but did not select Noah. Who did ask? Adrian looked toward the court reporter. The Daniel operative stopped typing. Security moved. The reporter pressed one key. Every exit locked. A different face appeared on the court screens. Rusk, the first reporter to use the Elias Ward identity. Older than her archived photographs, hair cut short, eyes calm. She spoke through the reporter's voice system. I selected Noah Crane. The Daniel at the stenography desk removed a skin-thin facial overlay. A woman sat beneath it. Rusk herself, she had been inside the courtroom every day, writing the official transcript. The person controlling the words had also controlled the identity network. Said Noah discovered Daniel operators within court administration. She believed he planned to sell the information. Elias, Adrian argued Noah was trustworthy, proposed moving him. Chose substitution. She told herself Noah's terminal file was real. Then she discovered it was false. She did not stop the operation. Daniel killed him during transport when he resisted. Which Daniel asked, looked toward his investigator, shouted that his investigator operated independently. The court screens opened archived messages. Silas. If the clerk refuses relocation, preserve the ELIAS operation at all costs. Investigator, physical contingency. Silas. I do not want DETALS. The most expensive sentence in the case. Had not ordered murder in direct language. He had ordered an outcome and rejected knowledge of method. She used Noah's body because abandoning the Elias operation would expose dozens of sources. She chose many lives over one. Everyone in power eventually arrived at arithmetic. The 7th witness slot appeared. Noah Crane, only audio. His headset recording played through the courtroom. He described Elias' staged death plan, his distrust of Daniel, and his decision to help despite fear. Then he said, if my name is replaced, the operation has become the thing it claims to fight. His final words were ordinary. I told my wife I would be home by 10. The courtroom remained silent after the file ended. No dramatic accusation. No verdict. Only a promise he did not keep, because other people decided his body was useful. The judge ordered the doors opened. Rusk surrendered, sat between officers. The prosecutor requested the jury be discharged. I objected, not because I wanted a verdict at any cost, because Lantern's contingency predicted a mistrial, sealed evidence, and institutional survival. The judge asked what lawful trial could continue after such contamination. I answered, one that stops pretending my charge is the only case in this room. The criminal trial could not decide everything. It could still decide whether I murdered Noah. The witnesses had given different verdicts on my character, past, and responsibility. On the charged act, they agreed. I had not killed him, looked at the jury, then at the public reaction screen hidden inside his seized tablet. He still wanted to know which story was winning. I asked to turn it off. She did. The room became quieter without measurement. That silence frightened every strategist more than the accusations had. Demanded permission to address the court. The judge warned him he was not counsel, said the recordings had been generated from privileged defense sessions and could not be understood without context. He could not tolerate evidence he did not narrate. The judge allowed a limited statement before determining contempt and detention issues. Approached the empty witness stand. He explained dual representation as emergency legal coordination. He described witness disappearances as protective relocation. He described compliance profiles as risk assessment. He described Noah's death as unauthorized field escalation. Every harmful act received a professional noun. Asked whether he knew his investigator might use force. No. What? The screen behind him played his deposition question to Jonah. If a witness resists physical relocation, what level of force can be defended as necessary? Said lawyers test hypotheticals. Chorus played another. How long after cardiac arrest does dental identification become the primary public record? He said it concerned an unrelated case. Another, can an unclaimed body support a protected identity without creating a new homicide charge? The questions became a map of knowledge, had prepared legal defenses before Noah died. He claimed Rusk requested the research. Chorus displayed the operator login. Creed attacked the authentication method. He said the system could clone his voice. The court played his live denial beside archived sessions. Perfect match. He said perfect matches proved fabrication. That was the escape technology always offered its owners. When evidence became undeniable, they declared the category unreliable. I asked permission to question him. The judge hesitated, then allowed it because statement implicated me. I stood several feet away. For months, he had controlled the temperature, pace, and language of every conversation. Now the courtroom belonged to no one completely. Did you believe I killed Elias Ward when you accepted my case? No. Did you know Adrian Holt was alive? Yes. Did you tell the prosecutor? Through protected channels. Did you tell me? No. What? Did you know the body was Noah Crane? Not initially. When did you learn? Before arraignment. Did you allow me to believe I had woken beside Elias' corpse? I could not compromise an active identity operation. Did you use that belief to pressure me into a plea? I advised you based on legal exposure. Did you know Tess recorded your witness preparations? No. The system played his message ordering her transcript seized. He corrected. I knew she retained unauthorized material. Each denial narrowed into admission. I asked whether he ordered Noah killed. No. Did you order the Elias operation preserved at all cost? Yes. Did you instruct your investigator not to tell you details? Yes. Why? Operational separation. What? Because details create responsibility. Because lawyers should not direct field methods. But you wanted the result. I wanted protected sources preserved. At Noah's expense. I did not know he would die. Did you ask whether he was alive after relocation? Looked toward the jury. No. The answer entered the room without professional language. I asked about Colin Wren, admitted authorizing Argent to test environment shaping. He claimed he believed only mock data would be used. Chorus played a billing entry. Live juror response, see Wren, successful movement. Approved the invoice. Did you read it? Yes. Did you report it? No. Why? The verdict was independently supported. The same shelter I had used. We looked at each other across the courtroom, joined by the harm we had separately minimized. I said the defendant was probably guilty, so we told ourselves the method did not matter. Whispered yes. That was his most authentic confession, not because a machine scored it, because it implicated both of us without advantage. Then the prosecutor asked whether he had killed Tess. No. Received a message. The body identified as Tess had been re-examined. It was not Tess. The court reporter was alive. A side door opened. Tess entered wearing hospital clothing. She had escaped a Daniel medical transport after the body swap. The dead substitute remained unidentified. Tess looked at. He appeared relieved. She said, "Do not be. You still let them replace me." Had believed the substitute body was already dead. Again, the chain had no killers, only people who accepted death upstream. Tess took the stand. She authenticated the transcript relay and witness preparations. Then she turned toward me. "Your lawyer did not frame you alone." The prosecutor went still. Tess continued. "The state supplied the body identification evidence. Argent supplied the footage. Elias supplied the plan, supplied the identity, supplied the legal cover." And the judge asked. Tess looked at me. "Supplied the system that taught all of them the same lesson." "What lesson?" "That people do not need one true story." She faced the jury. "They need one story that makes uncertainty feel irresponsible." The trial could not continue in the ordinary sense. The judge dismissed the jury after individual questioning revealed 6 had received targeted media despite sequestration. 2 had encountered synthetic local news stories. 1 received anonymous messages about the safety of his children if the trial collapsed. Lantern had reached them. Argent responsibility. Court contractors blamed external sabotage. The prosecutor requested all proceedings sealed. The judge refused. He converted the hearing into a public evidentiary inquiry, while a new murder trial would be scheduled before an untainted court. Institutional delay disguised as caution. Then Adrian Holt asked to testify. The alleged murder victim walked to the stand under the name Elias Ward. The court had to decide what to call him. Adrian Holt, his birth identity. Elias Ward, the protected role. Victim, conspirator, witness, journalist. The judge chose Adrian Holt. Names became functional again. Adrian admitted designing the fake death operation. He believed disappearing would protect sources and allow him to expose Lantern from outside legal reach. He knew a substitute body would be used. Told him it would be legally sourced. Told him the same. Adrian did not inspect the body. White asked, because seeing a face would make the plan harder. The courtroom shifted. He had avoided knowledge deliberately. Adrian said he discovered Noah's identity after the body was found in my office. He could have returned immediately. Instead, he stayed hidden and built the case. "How long did you plan to let face murder charges?" the judge asked. "Until consolidated the protected records." "How long?" "I did not set a date, meaning as long as useful." I asked Adrian whether he drugged me the night Noah's body appeared. "No." "Did?" "No." "I do not know." The toxicology gap remained. Then Tess produced the final unedited office footage from a local camera Noah installed. I entered at 10:42 p.m. Noah's body was already there. At 10:51, a Daniel operative entered wearing Adrian's face. He injected me. He arranged my hand around the murder weapon. At 11:08, the official footage began, showing me entering for the first time. The operative removed the facial layer before leaving. I turned toward her. She stood in the witness area under guard. Began crying. She admitted she entered as Daniel to stage the office. Told her Noah was a donated body and the operation would expose network. Believed framing me temporarily would force the protection policy to activate. She drugged me. She planted evidence. She did not know Noah had been killed. "Did you check?" I asked. "No." The word had become the refrain of the case. Had later learned the truth and agreed to become a witness. Threats pushed her into hiding. Her final recording cleared me of murder while preserving her own role. The person framing me had also been one of the witnesses proving I was framed. No category remained pure. The judge ordered arrested for evidence fabrication, assault, conspiracy, and obstruction. She asked whether I hated her. Yes. The answer steadied me. She said I was trying to expose them. So was Noah. No intention could return his name to the body. Adrian's testimony continued. He revealed that Rusk, not ordered to stage me, believed I would be released after 48 hours once Elias appeared through a protected channel. Discovered the frame and chose not to reveal it. He used my jeopardy to gain leverage over Argent and the state. 2 separate betrayals layered into one defense. Did not deny it. She said Lantern could only be exposed through a case too public to seal. "You selected because she built it," Adrian said. "I selected her because the public would believe she could kill to hide it." Looked at me. Both. The operation needed my guilt and innocence simultaneously. A person compromised enough to frame, connected enough to unlock the system, public enough to attract attention. I had not been chosen despite my past. I had been chosen because of it. The judge asked Adrian for his verdict on me. He refused the word. I believe did not kill Noah. I believe she participated in earlier crimes of jury manipulation. I believe she was used because those facts made a false murder story persuasive. That was the first answer broad enough to hold me. Not innocent, not murderer, both responsible and framed. The public wanted a reversal. The truth offered separation. The evidentiary inquiry lasted 6 weeks. 7 witness positions became public. Rowan, I did not kill Noah, but I built the fear model used to disappear him. Tess, I did not kill Noah, but I concealed Juror 8. I did not kill Noah, but I authorized compliance research after knowing it harmed people. Jonah, I did not kill Noah, but I funded and approved the network that reached real jurors. I did not kill Noah, but I framed myself beside his body. I did not kill Noah, but I allowed Elias' protected identity to matter more than Noah's name. Adrian, I did not kill Noah, but I let the case continue to expose a larger system. Noah's own recording gave no verdict on me. That mattered most. Dead people should not be forced to complete the moral work of the living. Was charged with obstruction, conspiracy, witness tampering, unlawful juror interference, and offenses connected to Noah's death. Prosecutors debated whether his preserve at all cost instruction supported murder liability. Rusk faced conspiracy, false imprisonment, identity fraud, and evidence fabrication. Cooperated, lost her research license before sentencing. Jonah accepted charges tied to juror targeting. Rowan entered witness protection under his own name, not a role. Tess rebuilt the official transcript with visible alteration history. Published the source archive after redacting people who had not consented to becoming characters in our scandal. Adrian faced prosecution for obstruction and body substitution. His supporters called him a hero. Noah's widow called him the man who chose a story over her husband. Both descriptions followed him. Argent verdict dissolved. Its software did not disappear. Government agencies claimed they needed Lantern to detect manipulation. Law firms bought pieces through intermediaries. Technology survives moral collapse by changing purpose statements. My murder charge was dismissed after the unedited footage and Adrian's appearance. I was not released into celebration. I was charged separately with conspiracy to interfere with a jury, unlawful data use, obstruction, and professional misconduct tied to Colin Wren. Honor attended the hearing. I pleaded guilty to the counts supported by evidence and contested one charge that claimed I intentionally caused Colin's death. The prosecutor offered a reduced sentence if I described as the sole operational architect. I refused, not to protect him, because the lie would erase Jonah, Argent executives, court vendors, and me. The system had no sole architect by the time it reached Colin. I received 18 months in custody, suspended after 6 months, professional disqualification, and years of civil liability. Some viewers called the sentence too light. Others called any punishment victim blaming, because I had been framed for murder. Both reactions demanded one role. The legal record carried several. Anna Wren met me after sentencing. She did not thank me. I watched the trial, she said. I know. You looked relieved when the murder charge disappeared. I was, and ashamed to look relieved. Yes, do not perform shame for me. I stopped arranging my face. She gave me the rest of Colin's notebook. Not forgiveness, evidence. The final pages described his fear after learning about Lantern. He did not believe I personally wanted him harmed. He believed everyone involved would use that fact to avoid responsibility. He had understood us. Anna asked what I planned to do with the notebook. Archive it with his conditions. What conditions? No adaptation, no synthetic reconstruction, no motivational summary, no use without naming every institution involved. She nodded once. That was the closest thing to trust I received. Wrote from remand. His letter argued the public inquiry succeeded because he kept the trial alive long enough for the recordings to emerge. He described himself as a compromised facilitator. Even prison became a frame he could optimize. I did not answer. Rusk asked for access to Elias' archive to prepare her defense. Refused. Adrian asked whether I would testify that believed Noah's file was genuine. I said yes. Belief mattered to intent. It did not erase outcome. Wrote an apology. I preserved it and did not respond. The 7 witnesses never reached one verdict about me. That was not failure. Consensus had been the product. Contradiction became the evidence that we had stopped using it. 3 years later, Courtroom 7 reopened without a public reaction feed. They carried a 60-second delay only for privacy, not sentiment analysis. Juror devices were stored outside. Local news systems disclosed paid legal targeting. Court transcripts included edit histories. The reforms were imperfect. Companies sold new tools, claiming to detect the old tools. Argent's former employees joined ethics boards. His former partners taught professional responsibility seminars. Institutions rarely disappear. They reintroduce themselves as lessons. I worked for an independent conviction review office under supervision. I was not allowed to access live juror data, design persuasion strategy, or contact witnesses without approval. The restrictions felt humiliating at first, then clean. Boundaries are different when they do not pretend to be care. My first major review involved a woman convicted in the hospital case. The evidence of financial fraud remained strong, but lantern contamination had affected the jury. A new trial was ordered. She later pleaded guilty to a lesser offense. People asked whether Collins' manipulated vote mattered if the defendant was still guilty. The answer remained yes. Justice is not only the destination, it is who owns the road there. Noah Crane's widow received the corrected death certificate. It listed his real name and circumstances under investigation. She said paperwork did not restore him. She still framed it, not because a document made grief whole, because the wrong name had been another theft. The substitute body used for Tess was identified as Shaw, a woman who died in private care before her remains were sold through fraudulent consent. Her name joined the case. There were always more people beneath the story than the story wanted. Rowan, before Parliament, published a public account of compliance research, but donated the rights to affected subjects. Jonah worked with juror support groups after release, served a custodial sentence, and later disappeared from public life under her own identity. Ended the Elias Ward byline. No new reporter would inherit it. Adrian wrote under his birth name and accepted that every source did not belong to his redemption. Tess created a transcript standard called Open Dissent. It preserved conflicting statements instead of summarizing them into consensus. Was convicted on most charges, but acquitted of murder conspiracy. The jury found his language deliberately avoided direct instruction. Noah's widow called the acquittal legally understandable and morally obscene. Appealed everything. In one hearing, he represented himself. He still believed no one else could narrate him correctly. I attended only once. He saw me in the gallery and smiled. During recess, he asked whether I admitted he had saved my life by keeping me from testifying earlier. No, you would have destroyed yourself. I needed to admit what I did. You could have done that after acquittal. After you controlled the terms. His smile faded, said the world now misunderstood him, because the recordings removed context. I answered with the question he had asked every witness. What is your verdict? He looked toward the court camera, then away. I did what the system required. That was not a verdict. It was the final refuge. I left before his hearing resumed. At the review office, we kept a wall with the names of people whose cases involved Lantern. Colin Wren appeared there as a juror, not a defendant or victim. Noah Crane appeared as a court clerk, and Shaw appeared as a person, not a substitute body. No portrait of me. No portrait of people who control stories already occupy enough walls. A young analyst asked me how to detect manipulated certainty. I told her to look for missing contradiction, a clean witness, a perfect villain, a protector who requires isolation, a choice presented as the only responsible option, a lawyer who knows your fear before asking your facts. She asked whether I could tell when someone was lying. No, that disappointed her. What can you tell when a system punishes people for saying they are unsure? On the anniversary of Noah's death, his widow released his full headset recording. The final section had never been played in court. Noah spoke about going home after the meeting. He planned to buy milk. His wife had asked twice. He laughed at himself for forgetting ordinary things, while carrying evidence powerful people would kill to control. Then he said, maybe the safest truth is the one no one can turn into a verdict. I listened alone. For years, I believed exposure was the opposite of control. Sometimes exposure becomes another form of ownership. A person's last words become a hook, a symbol, a weapon. I did not quote Noah publicly. I let his widow decide where the recording lived. The Stoic answer was not silence. It was discipline about whose pain you used to complete yourself. My name remained. Not innocent, not murderer, former strategist, convicted conspirator, framed defendant, witness. Each description was true in a limited room. No room owned the whole person. The final time I entered Courtroom 7, no trial was scheduled. Sunlight crossed the empty jury box. The hidden screens had been removed. Marks remained where cables once entered the floor. I sat at counsel table. For months, had placed his hand on the chair behind me and called control protection. No one stood there now. The courtroom felt incomplete. That was its honesty. A verdict can decide a charge. It cannot finish a life. I left before the lights turned on.
I've been broken, burned to dust, faded dreams in ashes rust. But from the fire I will rise, reclaiming all that once was mine. I won't regret what's in the past. I am the future built to last. Reborn from ashes, watch me fly. No more tears, no more goodbyes. Every fall was just the start of finding strength within my heart. I rise again, now I am free. Reborn from ashes, you will see. You will see. I won't be defined by scars. I'll paint my life beneath the stars. Each step